biggest news coming into the offseason, Dwane Casey stepping down as the head coach, which is crazy. I thought he would be back next year, but he will be in a different role, no longer the head coach. What are you guys' thoughts on Dwane Casey stepping down as the head coach? Whoever wants to start, Mike, never mind. You start. You're the guest.
All right. I feel like with Dwane Casey, this was evident from the second Troy took over. Like, Dwane was brought in to try to push a team with Andre and Blake into the playoffs, make them at least they said contender, but we all knew realistically second round max if we were really stretching it. And with that, the organization has changed under Casey, and he just knows that this isn't his role. And he's at a point in his career where he didn't want to even coach on the Pistons for the year that Tom Gores hired him on. He actually wanted to take a year off. This is going to give him time to step into a different role, explore some new things. And I also got to credit Casey. I feel like, yes, we a lot of times disagree with his rotations, but he didn't screw this up with development. We didn't ruin anyone yet. So shout out to Casey. Appreciate what he did for us, but I think it was due time.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. And, man, he came into a situation where he was talking about you had Reggie Jackson, Andre Drummond, Blake Griffin. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. And then they transitioned to this rebuild, which is incredibly tough on any coach. We can all agree on that. But you're right, Mike. He didn't mess it up. The development of Jaden Ivey was huge. Cade Cunningham, Isaiah Stewart, look where he's at now as a basketball player. He did some great things with some of the guys here. And, the wins and the losses, they sucked, but, the development and not screwing anybody over, that's so important. But, Anthony, what are your thoughts on Dwane Casey?
I think the only person he screwed up was Sekou. That's about it. But,
yeah,
we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. I think as a coach, I think Mike hit it right on the head. He was brought in to compete for the playoffs, and he went 41-41 that year. We all know what happened. Blake gets hurt, and Giannis swept their ass. The following year, they decide we're going to trade Andre Drummond for a bag of Kit Kats, and we really didn't get anything out of it. I mean, you got I think Brandon Knight and John Henson in a second-round pick we didn't even keep. And then it was just kind of a trickle down from that. I mean, you traded Derrick Rose. You couldn't trade Blake Griffin. No one wanted him. You had to buy him out. So, I mean, I think other than that, I think what I will give Casey credit for is just letting the guys play and not ripping them out if they made a mistake. And I think that has really helped out with their development. Like Plant said, Isaiah Stewart, I think, to me, was one of the players that has developed the most this season, right up there with Jaden Ivey. Obviously, we didn't really get to see Cade Cunningham too much this year, but John Beilein says he's going to be scary next season with his shot. He's been working on a shot with John Beilein, I guess, all year. So that's really good to see. But I think his tenure in Detroit will be similar to Stan Van Gundy's. They tried to push for the playoffs, and, they really couldn't do anything and get out of the first round.
Especially considering mentioning SVG, just the fact that Casey really had no control over the roster. Like, the fact we even put up more than 30 points a night with a lot of the roster change that we had under Casey's system was impressive, because you got to scheme differently every time you lose a guy, especially any starter that was getting shit at the time.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the job he did. I mean, he only had 8 guys the other night. That's an incredibly tough job. And a lot of those dudes aren't even probably going to be on NBA rosters next year. And he was dealing with that for, 3 seasons now? I mean, we were cheering for Frank Jetson, Svi Mykhailiuk, Tyler Cook of all people. Man, there were so many Braxton Key, another name we can throw out there. Shout out to him for winning the G League championship. But anyways, it's, he just had so many different random guys that haven't even been on other NBA rosters. It's an incredibly tough position he was put in. I couldn't ask for a better person to have that position that he did and do the job that he did. Yeah, not many wins, but development and, just, not messing things up, man. We're sitting good with a good core of players. And by all accounts, nobody hated Dwane Casey and nobody wants out of Detroit. So that's a win in my book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think his quote was
100%.
I think one of his quotes was saying, no one has been arrested. And I think that was kind of like a jab at Ja when the Ja stuff came out. And I saw Keith Black tweet that out earlier, and I just started laughing. I was like, dude, if that's the standard, let's go.
That's amazing for sure. Oh, man.